Hi everyone, my name is Grant, and today I'd like to talk to you about the blockchain, more specifically the future of financial and cybersecurity. So without further ado, let's hop right in. First off, an outline for what we're going to talk about today. We're going to have a brief overview of the paper. We're also going to talk about the research questions, methods, and we're going to talk about what the blockchain is and what is Bitcoin. We're going to talk about the Genesis block, the benefits of Bitcoin, and how it all works when you put it together. We're also going to talk about the blockchain adoption trends, and lastly, we're going to go over the summary and conclusions of this paper. So just to start us off, the overview is this paper explains the concept, characteristics, and need for the blockchain and how Bitcoin works. It attempts to highlight the role of blockchain in shaping the future of banking, financial institutions, and the adoption of the Internet of Things. The long thought of father of Bitcoin and the blockchain, Satoshi Nakamoto, describes the design of Bitcoin digital currency in his paper posted to the cryptography list server in 2008. Nakamoto's idea solved a long-pending problem of cryptographers and laid the foundation stone for digital currency. The blockchain is a decentralized ledger used to securely exchange digital currency, perform deals, and transactions. It's a collection of all Bitcoin transactions, essentially, executed in the past. It's a distributed database which maintains a continuously growing, tamper-proof data structure which holds batches of individual transactions. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer, permissionless network which allows every user to connect to the network and send new transactions to verify and create new blocks. What is a blockchain? So the best way I've found to describe this in a short little 100-word elevator pitch is you, a node, have a file of transactions on your computer, a ledger. Two government accountants, let's call them miners, have the same file on there, so it's distributed. As you make transaction, your computer sends an email to each accountant to inform them. Each accountant rushes to be the first to check whether you can afford it and be paid their salary in bitcoins. The first to check and validate hits reply all, attaching their logic for verifying the transaction or their proof of work. If other accountants agree, everyone updates their file. This concept is enabled by blockchain technology. To go a little bit more in depth and demystify blockchain, I have this video.
By now, you've probably heard about blockchains and how they're driving banks, venture capitalists, and crypto-libertarians into a frenzy. Maybe you've seen explainer videos with stacks of blocks or sci-fi spiderwebs overtaking the planet. But just forget about all that for a second. The important thing to remember about blockchains is that they make it harder for digital data to go rogue. Digital information likes to be free. Just ask the recording industry. Once a file is created, it can be copied, modified, and quickly develop a wild social life all its own. And before you know it, you're looking at a photo of kitties on the moon. Digital data's libertine tendencies encourage companies to hoard it. It's why the simple idea of digital currency took a long time to figure out. Blockchains are promising because they can make data you can trust. The trick is to bind that data into a strict framework of rules using cryptography. A blockchain creates a kind of shared record or database, with each piece of data secured with its own cryptographic keys. Only people with the right digital keys can add data to the blockchain, or modify information that's already there. You can get the upside of the internet, like speed and transparency, without the downsides, like rogue data. Digital currencies, like Bitcoin, use blockchains to prevent counterfeiting. And because computers belonging to many different people enforce the rules, no one is in charge and there's no need for a central bank. Companies can use blockchains to create a safe space to share data and collaborate with competitors. That could mean faster and more transparent financial transactions, less identity theft, and easier ways to share your medical records. Some food companies are even using blockchains to be more transparent about their supply chains, which could help avoid outbreaks of foodborne illness. I'll be honest with you, a lot of blockchain's applications can sound kind of boring. They're about making accountants happy by making things a lot more efficient. But some use cases are more radical. Digital currencies are being tested as a way to help people not served by conventional banks, like refugees. The gemstone industry is testing a blockchain to prevent sales of blood diamonds. Blockchains might even make it possible to safely allow people to vote over the internet. So those are blockchains, digital data you can actually trust. And remember, don't worry about the blocks.
I like that video because it also brings out some ideas about blockchains that aren't commonly thought of, which is just interesting to know that they're not always associated with cryptocurrencies. So what is a Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a digital currency released as an open source software in 2009. It's a decentralized cryptocurrency produced by all the participating nodes in the system at a defined rate. The chain of Bitcoins created over time and linked to each other is called the blockchain. When a new block of transactions is created, it gets added to the blockchain, and the new transaction records are continuously added to Bitcoin's public ledger, and this process is called Bitcoin mining. Secure Hash Algorithm 2, SHA-2, which covers cryptographic hash function, is used by Bitcoin. We can determine integrity of a given data by comparing the execution output of SHA-2 algorithm called hash with an already known and expected hash value. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Genesis block. The Genesis block, or the first block, block number 0, was created in 2009. All nodes know the hash structure of the Genesis block, which is a secure root. The statically encoded Genesis block can be seen inside the Bitcoin Core client. Now, the Genesis block actually contains a very interesting text message. The Times, 03, January 2009. Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. So this message was actually embedded by Bitcoin's creator, Satoshi Nakamoto. It offers proof of date when the Genesis block was created, which refers to the headline of the British newspaper, The Times. So how does it all work when you put it together? Well, essentially, Bitcoin uses an elliptic curve digital signature algorithm. Each Bitcoin is associated with a public ECDSA key of its current owner. It uses a public key cryptography asymmetric encryption algorithm and concept of public and private keys to encrypt and decrypt data. If the message is encrypted using public keys, then private or secret keys is necessary to decrypt. The interest of users in devoting CPU power to run a special piece of software are called Bitcoin miners, and they ultimately form the network to maintain the blockchain. So let's go ahead and talk about the benefits of Bitcoin. So first off, it's faster and cheaper. Transactions made using Bitcoin's wallets are fast, and transaction fees are minimal. It's a decentralized registry. Bitcoin currency is decentralized, and no central authority has full control, and hence the central government or banks can't take it away from you, and there's no chargeback. Secure payment info. Bitcoin transactions use a public and a private key. When a Bitcoin is sent, the transaction is signed by public and private keys together, which create a certificate. And then, of course, Bitcoin mining. You can create your own money by setting up a Bitcoin miner. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the blockchain adoption trends. Here I've pulled 3 popular examples that people are using blockchains for, in addition to the video that we mentioned earlier. The first is a Texas-based company is using a blockchain to help Honduras and Central America better register land. IBM and Samsung are also working on a proof of concept to build the next generation of Internet of Things. And then lastly, the most important one that I wanted to talk about today was that Everledger is using a blockchain to tackle conflict diamonds and insurance fraud, since the tracking of diamonds from mine to retail stores is a lengthy and complex process. I actually have a video to talk a little bit about this.
Since the days of clay tablets, people have recorded the exchange of goods and services. As we evolve into the digital age, recording these transactions has become much more complex. Whether it's the exchange of money between 2 parties, documenting how goods move through a supply chain, or making contractual agreements. The growth of global commerce and trade has created a network of disparate ledger systems, vulnerable to errors, fraud, and misinterpretation. Take the diamond industry, for example. The journey of a diamond from mine to consumer covers a complex landscape of legal, regulatory, financial, manufacturing, and commercial practices. Current supply chains have to rely on intermediaries every step of the way, from government officials to lawyers, accountants, dealers, and banks. This adds time and cost. Diamond smuggling and fraud can hamper governments from collecting fair export taxes, and consumers and retailers face the prospect of purchasing counterfeit or unethically mined stones. This is where Hyperledger blockchain technology comes in. It has the potential to eliminate these vulnerabilities with transparent transactions. BlockChain offers all parties involved in a business network a secure and synchronized record of transactions. The blockchain ledger records every sequence of transactions from beginning to end, whether it's hundreds of steps in a supply chain or a single online payment. As each transaction occurs, it's put into a block. Each block is connected to the one before and after it. Groups of transactions are blocked together and a fingerprint of each block is added to the next, thus creating an irreversible chain. That's why blockchain is ideal for recording the mining, refining, and distribution of one of the most valuable goods in the world. It can trace a diamond's path from the mine to the hands of the consumer with exceptional security and transparency. While blockchain works with all types of transactions, there are three key features that make Hyperledger blockchain uniquely capable to handle the requirements of a regulated industry like diamonds. It's distributed, it's permissioned, and it's secure. Because the ledger is distributed, it works as a shared form of record keeping, ensuring no one person or organization holds ownership of the system. As the diamond cycles through its supply chain, everyone involved during the process is permissioned to have a copy of every record and piece of data, and no transaction can be added to the chain without consensus across the participants. This means no one person can add to or alter the blockchain without it being permanently recorded, making it tamper-resistant and highly secure, eliminating the risk of fraud and error. No one, not even a system administrator, can delete it. In the case of diamonds, a blockchain ledger keeps a record of high-resolution photos of each diamond at every touchpoint along its journey. It holds certificates of authenticity, real-time records of every payment transaction, as well as product details like cut, clarity, color, carat, and diamond serial numbers. At the end of the buying cycle, there is a complete, auditable, and indisputable record of information. Blockchain technology gives us the ability to transform industries of all sorts, from diamonds to flowers, monetary transactions, or even things like contracts, deeds, records, and other public and private agreements. It frees up capital flows, speeds processes, lowers transaction costs, and most importantly, provides security and trust. We believe that blockchain will do for business what the internet did for communication, create new ways of working and leave more time for creativity and innovation.
I find it so fascinating to learn about how blockchain can be used in all different types of businesses and how more pervasive it's going to become in the future. So let's talk a little bit about the summary and conclusions of this paper. So Bitcoin is a digital and global money system or currency. It allows people to send or receive money across the internet or even to someone they don't know or trust. Nobody's identity actually has to be validated. A transaction is a transfer of value between Bitcoin wallets that gets included into the blockchain. Bitcoin wallets keep a secret piece of data called a private key, which is used to sign transactions, providing a mathematical proof that they have come from the owner of the wallet. Continued, we've seen that a recent study of IBM Institute business value show that 70% of early adopters surveyed are prioritizing blockchain efforts to reduce barriers in creating new business models to reach new markets. The device cost is decreasing and computing power is increasing every day. Therefore, blockchain presents an immense possibility in the Internet of Things and providing security. So, in this paper, a couple of the experimental weaknesses. So we didn't really talk too much in this paper about types and forms of regulations. It'd be interesting to know how governments would react to these sorts of things without the ability to collect taxes. Also, Bitcoin was the focus of the paper. Well, what about some of the many other popular cryptocurrencies? The next two studies I think that the author should go ahead and take a peek into. So a major cybersecurity concern has been that the public ledger of Bitcoin truly isn't anonymous as once thought. It'd be interesting to know why they think that is and how they could make it more secure. Secondly, Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin Cash are just a few of the other cryptocurrencies that offer faster transaction times, and Ethereum offers more anonymity. What's different about these and why? Similar study that was done by Yermak in 2013 looked at, is Bitcoin a real currency? It's an economic appraisal of things. This paper does an analysis of Bitcoin where the author is more baffled by the understanding that people are buying and selling something that doesn't tangibly exist. So it highlighted a lot that Bitcoin at the time was surrounded by a lot of negative media as it was being used in certain things like the Silk Road to purchase illegal or illicit items and other things. Overall, the paper concludes that Bitcoin behaves more like a speculative investment than an actual currency. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day.